Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 74 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can find me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, a proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support the Oddsbreakers to benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any for winning cappers to get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. And if nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers to become a free Picks and a Telegram subscriber. Another crazy weekend of football in the books, my friends. Not a ton of massive upsets, right? You know, there's just very few. I mean, you're looking at college survivors. Not a lot of action, really. I think the only one was Kansas, really, that some people had. And that was, you know, I mean, if you pick Georgia, that's your own fault. They're a 2-point favorite, right? But, you know, I mean, just all the favorites cover: Missouri, Vanderbilt, Baylor. Not just cover, I'm talking about win. Houston, Utah, Ohio State, Iowa State, you know, South Carolina, Kansas State. Some of the bigger favorites took care of business. And some of the, you know, not really dogs that won outright. Not a ton of big ones. You know, there's a few small ones out there. But, you know, the big games, the two, Oregon versus Penn State was my favorite game. It went to overtime, and Drew Allard just wasn't quite good enough. You know, Dante Moore was probably the better passing quarterback. I feel like he had the better plays called. I do like Andy Koltenicky over at Penn State, but is it his play calling that's just not up to Will Stein over at Oregon? Or is it just that he knows his quarterback and he can't put him in certain situations like Dante Moore can be on? You know, it's just that Oregon's offense looked better. Both defenses look solid. I would even give the edge on defense a little bit to Penn State. But, yeah, I mean, Oregon went into a very tough environment and won, and you have to give them props for that. My Oregon under 10.5 is looking bad, but at least I had the bet on Oregon plus the 3.5 at minus 104 early in the week. You know, so I did think Oregon was the better team, and we gave out to premium subscribers. So that worked out well. College was awesome. It worked out really well, 9-3. Doing exceptionally well in college this year, number one in sports capping. Really happy about that. And we just keep doing what we're doing, getting the lines early, Sunday, a little bit on Monday. And college is rolling. But the NFL is the NFL. I could have had a decent day if the Colts would have covered. They didn't. I ended up down about 5 units. And I think I went 2-4 because of the refuse to lose teaser deciding to lose this week. Now 3-1 based on the Chargers. And looking back, the Chargers were a tough pick. But so before I get to the NFL, sorry for getting off topic here. The Alabama-Georgia game was fun. Georgia does not look like the Georgia from the past. Stockton looks like an okay quarterback. He doesn't look like an exceptionally great quarterback like he did against Tennessee's defense. He was at home. That Georgia defense was a sieve. Gave up a ton to Alabama. And there you have it. Alabama wins outright. Kind of got a little dicey at the end, but Alabama was in control that whole game, and Alabama is the better team. And I probably should have mentioned Florida State's big loss against Virginia. The Florida State beat Bama and loses outright to Virginia. We had Virginia plus the 7.5, and when that went to overtime, it got a little dicey as well. But somehow we survived all of our overtimes this week, which was fantastic. We had like 3 of them in our cast of wins. And usually when I'm in overtime, I'm on the dog. I'm usually on the dog in that situation. So it's always almost a bad beat for me. Glad it worked out. And was it Illinois USC? No, Illinois won outright too, and I was on Illinois. Auburn was a lucky cover. Mississippi State, that's what it was. I had plus 9.5, so I was safe in overtime. But people with plus 7.5 weren't as safe, especially touchdown scored in the second and they get the 2-point conversion. You know what happens. You want your team to go first when it comes to that in the second half. I've lost in overtime multiple times on bad beats on plus 7.5 because they always have to go for 2 in the second round of overtime. So, yeah, otherwise it was a fun weekend. Probably should have did a little better in the college contest, 5-1-1, but I'll take it. Unfortunately, Auburn scored as a push in that situation. But to the NFL, like I said, the biggest upset was the Chargers, and it was just a bad spot for them. Jackson Dart came in, a couple interceptions, a bad injury to Joe Alt. It wasn't that bad, though. I think it's a high ankle sprain, so he's out probably 4 weeks. But it looks like he'll be back when it's important, right? So the Chargers just have to keep on trucking here. And they're playing a somewhat injured Commanders team, so who knows what we're going to get from the Commanders this week. But, it was a fun week of sports, fun week of football. The Chiefs took care of the Ravens. The Ravens looked disjointed even when Lamar was playing. Definitely weren't getting the calls that game, but that's just how it is in the NFL. And you want to speak about calls, how about the Colts getting that touchdown on a fictitious holding from referee Carl Cheffers, and there was no holding there. They just saw JT break away and threw the flag, and it was pretty pathetic. And I really looked at it, and now they in a situation where it's tied, you got plus 4.5 or plus 3.5. You're hoping for a field goal win, and boom, freaking 88-yard touchdown, right? It's just how it is in the NFL, man. Hard to beat, sitting there at plus 4.5 on the Colts, and there you have it. So that was tough. Jaguars beat the 49ers outright. Not a ton of people were on the 49ers in Survivor, so I wasn't too worried about that. But, the big game at the end really was the Packers-Cowboys, and that thing went late into the night and tied in overtime, and then tied again with 2 field goals. So Survivor players that decided to pick the Packers.
Fucking bullshit!
Yeah, man, it was tough if you're on the Packers. So you get a little too cute in Survivor. You play against a good offense like the Cowboys. The problem is your defense just might not stop them on the road. That's just Survivor. How about the Bears? Blocked that field goal at the end to win. That Bears defense is every bit as bad as the Cowboys, but somehow they ended up winning against the Raiders and took a little special teams help, but that was just kind of back and forth for a while. Falcons beat the injured Commanders. I wish I would have kept the Falcons in my circa, but I switched them out for the Colts at the last minute because everyone was on the Falcons and I paid for it. So that's how it is. The Commanders are very injured, and I probably should have stuck with the Falcons. A couple things were going against the Falcons in my mind. Bad coach. Just, they can be a weird team. Lions destroyed the Browns 34-10. That really wasn't too much of a game. You weren't really too worried that whole game that the Browns were going to come back. And obviously the Patriots just slammed the Panthers. You wonder if they're thinking confident when they're coming into this Bills game or not. The Buccaneers, massive misleading final score. Should have beat the Eagles, instead didn't cover. That was another loss of me. Plus 3.5 on the Bucs. The Eagles just kind of keep getting it done just in weird ways. And then the Texans finally get off the ground and beat the Titans. So that was interesting. Another one of my losses, and I did bet on the Falcons at least. I just switched them out in the contest. One of my losses was the Steelers against the Vikings. I bet on Carson Wentz. Immediately I slapped myself in the face as soon as that game got started. I'm like, why am I betting on Carson Wentz again? I do this every year. Completely screw myself in that situation, and they kind of caught up at the end, but there was not even close to enough time. One on the Jags, that was great, but, that got a little dicey too for a little while. But, man, those 49ers are really injured, and now they have to play the Rams on Monday Night Football. The good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend, starting with the good. Ohio State's defense, the best in all of college football. Guarantee that. Definitely had some stuff go their way, but they pretty much shut down the Washington Huskies in that powerful offense. Sam Leavitt, he's been great for ASU, and I'm pretty impressed by him and how he just keeps coming back and winning games. So he's a stud, he's a baller, and that's why ASU is still in contention in the Big 12. 5-0 North Texas. How about that? North Texas. They've been pretty this year, and they might be a sneaky contender there in the American Athletic Conference. That is one heck of a Group of 5 conference, by the way. The Jackson Dart win, finally getting off the shelf with Jackson Dart, and comes in and starts, and they win a game. Didn't look that great, but still got the win. Now they got to go face the Saints. Ugh. The Patriots, they got the job done. Wow, they look good. Of course, they're playing a terrible Carolina Panthers team, so kind of a slump buster, but now they have to go play the Bills. Oh, yeah, back to college. Notre Dame's offense, I should have mentioned, over 640 yards against Arkansas. And finally that happens. And I guess you can call Sam Pittman being fired for Arkansas a good thing, too. They go into their bye week, and good old Bobby Petrino takes over. How do you like that? I wonder if we'll ever see him in a neck brace again. That was a funny story. The Oregon Ducks looking really good. Alabama makes the good back on track, and the Cowboys offense looks really good this week as well. Now for the bad. Kyler Murray. He's terrible for 3 quarters and great for a quarter. He's so yin and yang and so frustrating to bet on or against. You just have no idea what the hell is going on when it comes to this Arizona Cardinals team. Probably best to take them as larger dogs, but man, the Jayhawks defense, Kansas's defense let Cincinnati win outright. That was really bad. And then USC's defense giving up all those points to Illinois. Really, really bad. Mississippi State's choke when they had that game under control against Tennessee. Come on, Mississippi State. That's how it is. When a bad team kind of becomes good, they still kind of think they're bad in a way. And James Franklin, punting from Oregon's 36, dude. Seriously, you deserve to lose that game with your stupid decisions over there, James. You're playing a high-powered offense. You have to score some points, and you have to take some chances. 1-4 Liberty. How bad has Liberty been this year at 1-4? Jeez. Georgia's defense has been bad. They make the bad this week. NC State losing to Virginia Tech. A coach-fired team losing at home. Oh, no! Ohio State's roughing call on 3rd and 20. I hate these bailout calls when the defense is kicking ass. 3rd and 20. It wasn't roughing either. It was just an Ohio State flag. I mean, the EPA on that and the way it changes the flow of the game, the momentum, just completely screwed Washington. And this is the problem with football. It better be a serious penalty if it's like 4th down or 3rd and very long. Because you're just you're just completely putting a farce over what the actual game is and deciding it. It's getting really out of hand. Carson Wentz. I should just say the bad is for me for betting on Carson Wentz. Mayfield's interceptions were bad. That was horrible. And what about the punt block for the Tampa Bay Bucks that just spotted the Eagles 14-0? Freaking pathetic. It's so hard to bet on this NFL game. Ugly. Arkansas's defense. No wonder Pittman was fired. Kansas's choke, missed interception right in his hands, right at the end where they could have stopped the score. Fumble. Just ran out of time. San Diego State versus Northern Illinois was ugly. 6-3 game. Oh my God, that was ugly. Indiana bettors. How about the -7 bettors that got them early enough and frickin' took that frickin' safety in the end zone to make it a 5-point lead?
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Terrible. The Titans' whole team is ugly. Just forget about them. How about the targeting 2 plays in a row that wasn't called, and they called it the hairline? So the top of your head, almost to where the middle is your hairline. You might, when we see Michigan's guy get called for targeting when it's his face mask that hits the quarterback. This is the worst call in all of sports. And it just piggybacks on what I said before on the roughing. It's just these officials have no idea what they're doing, and they're changing these outcomes. We have to be loud if we love this sport about this stuff, because they're monopolies and they have no reason to change. They have to be embarrassed. The Ravens 1-3 record. Oh, that's ugly. That's real ugly. Poor Ravens, but I still think they win the division, believe it or not. Chargers O-line with Joe Alt out now. So they lost 2 of their best tackles. They're just going to have to kind of get through. I think Alt will be back after a few weeks, maybe 4 weeks, but we'll see. And then the Colts. A.D. Mitchell, another blow to our +4.5. That happened before the calls. Fumbling before the end zone by sticking the ball out in celebration. Man, we see this every freaking year.
You see, in this world, there's 2 kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. You dig.
All right, now it's time for a little college football week 5 misleading final scores. Florida State outgained Virginia 514 to 440, yet lost in OT 46 to 38. Equal turnovers at 3, but poor red zone defense and field position got the semis. ESU outgained TCU 498 to 269, yet only won 27 to 24. They won the turnover battle 3-1, but terrible start to the game with poor special teams hurt them down 17 to nothing. Navy outgained Rice 455 to 234, yet only won 21 to 13. A 1-0 turnover ratio and field position got them from covering. Texas A&M outgained Auburn 414 to 177, yet only won 16 to 10. A 1-0 pick 6 turnover ratio did them in. Got lucky for once on one of these bets. Jacksonville State outgained Southern Miss 390 to 377, yet lost 42 to 25. A nasty 4-1 turnover ratio smoked them. Marshall outgained Louisiana 501 to 461, yet lost in overtime 54 to 51. They won the turnover battle 2-1, but poor special teams and red zone defense got the herd. UTEP's yards were mainly garbage, so no adjustment on that against Louisiana Tech. College football week 6 betting spots, letdown spots. Mississippi State gave their all against Tennessee, and now they go to Texas A&M. That's rough. So it's kind of a letdown spot in that way. Cincinnati hosting Iowa State after beating Kansas outright. It's a letdown spot. Virginia at Louisville after the big Florida State win and students charging the field is a letdown spot. Look for Louisville this week. Cal hosting Duke after the Boston College win is a letdown spot. Illinois at Purdue after beating USC is one. Get up spots. Penn State at UCLA will want a big W after the horrible performance against Oregon State. Alabama in a revenge spot. You think it's a letdown spot after Georgia? They always beat Georgia. Now they want revenge hosting Vanderbilt. Big spread. Boston College at Pitt after a choke against Cal. Washington at Maryland after the Ohio State ugly performance. Purdue may want revenge on Illinois after last year's whooping. Look ahead spots. Illinois looking past Purdue to Ohio State is one. Texas A&M could look past Mississippi State to hosting Florida. So I guess Texas A&M in a kind of a little weird spot. Northwestern could look past Louisiana Monroe to Penn State. Imagine that outright loss. That would be ugly for Northwestern. Could happen. What's that spread, man? Northwestern, 10.5, huh? My power ratings don't agree, but geez. Oklahoma could look past Kent State to Texas, so that could happen. Short rest. New Mexico only on 5 days rest, hosting Sam Houston. Western Kentucky only 6 days rest at Delaware. Long rest. UAB coming off the bye with 6 extra days rest over Army. Virginia with an extra day's rest at Louisville. Miami off the bye with an extra 6 days rest at Florida State. TCU with an extra day's rest hosting Colorado. Texas Tech off the bye with an extra 6 days rest at Houston. Ball State off the bye hosting Ohio. Coastal Carolina off the bye at Old Dominion. Maryland off the bye hosting Washington. Delaware off the bye an extra 8 days rest hosting Western Kentucky. FIU off the bye at UConn. Georgia State off the bye hosting James Madison. Purdue off the bye hosting Illinois. SMU off the bye hosting Syracuse. Texas State off the bye at Arkansas State. And Troy off the bye hosting South Alabama. Now it's time for some NFL Week 4 misleading final scores. The Vikings' yards were mainly garbage in the fourth quarter, so they're not counting. The Buccaneers, though, outgained the Eagles 376-200, yet lost 31-25, a nasty 2-0 turnover ratio and horrible special teams punt block return jailed the Bucs. The Chargers outgained the Giants 338-250, yet lost 21-18, a nasty 2-0 turnover ratio. Poor third down efficiency got the Bolts. The Panthers' yards were garbage, so I won't talk about them. The 49ers' yards were a lot of prevent defense from the Jaguars, so can't count that either, really, is misleading. The Jaguars were in control all game. The Raiders outgained the Bears for 357-271, yet lost 25-24, a 4-1 turnover ratio, and poor special teams got Las Vegas. And the Packers outgained the Cowboys 489-436, yet tied 40-40, a 1-0 turnover ratio and poor clutch defense did in the Packers. Now it's time for some NFL Week 5 betting spots, and there's quite a few of them because there's some letdown spots. Seattle could be a little fat and happy after the Cardinals win, hosting the Bucs. The Eagles at 4-0, just being an undefeated team, could be too confident hosting the Broncos. The Giants could let down now hosting the Saints after getting that first big W. So think about that one. Get up spots on 1 and 3. Ravens need to wake up hosting the Texans. But is Lamar okay? I don't know. Also, the Giants have huge Malik Neighbors injury, right? Going back to that. The Raiders will try to get it right at the Colts. Look ahead spots. The Chiefs could look past the Jaguars to the Lions. The Lions could look past the Bengals to the Chiefs. Short week. The Bengals hosting the Lions after Monday night. The Broncos at the Eagles after Monday night. The Jets hosting the Cowboys after Monday night. The Dolphins at the Panthers after Monday night. Long week. The Cardinals hosting the Titans after Thursday night. And the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Buccaneers after Thursday night. Now it's time for our free play for College Football Week 6. Purdue plus 9.5. I get a little better of a number, but they're in a good spot here. Illinois in a letdown spot after beating USC. Possibly a look-ahead spot for Illinois as well. You know, Illinois really could look to Ohio State. And, they beat the crap out of Purdue last year. And Purdue is in a little bit of a revenge spot. Purdue's not that bad. They're not nearly as bad as they were last year. They hung a little bit with Notre Dame. They do have a little bit of offense this year with the coach. And, they're averaging 28 points a game. Scored 30 at Notre Dame. They got to 17 against USC. I think Purdue is in a spot where they could upset Illinois outright as well. And, Illinois' defense isn't that good. And now Illinois on the road at Purdue, not a great situation. Purdue is almost dead even in yards per play, too. They're just going to kind of keep getting better and better this year. My numbers do not add up in this situation. I have Purdue a 8-point dog in this situation, but if you add up all the spots, coming off the bye and all that, I think they're definitely live at anything over 7. So grab the Boilermakers here. I like it for 2 stars.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football with our guy, D Nasty. All right, time for some fantasy football. D Nasty is back, my man. How's it going, Dave? How was your weekend?
Good. Heartbreaking tie by the Packers. Ties in football just shouldn't be, man. It was just a horrible game to watch. Stayed up late to watch the game. Oh, my God. And then they tie out of all outcomes. Even the players were just like, I don't want to tie. Even Dak and Love, when they interviewed him, they were just like shaking their heads to the tie. They're just like, yeah, no player wants to tie in the NFL, man. And then all the crazy block kicks and block extra points again. This is just a crazy season, man. I'm telling you.
It's a crazy season, my man. And I can't explain special teams. And, that game ended late for me, about 9 o'clock Pacific time here. So, almost up to my bedtime. And I was a little bummed out, but that's okay. I'll be on mountain soon, since we don't do the old daylight saving times here in AZ land. But Dave, there's a lot to talk about. Why don't you just get started with something we haven't talked about yet this year, being now we're coming into week 5.
Yeah, the NFL buys. Big week for some buys this week. After the Bears won on a blocked field goal of all things, the Bears will be on bye this week. So,
yeah, baby.
Caleb Williams.
Rolling without a tie into the bye.
So Caleb Williams, get him on your bench. Romeo Odunze, get him on your bench.
Odunze's been a stud, though, man.
He has been. He's been top 10 receiver this year, which is very shocking. I liked him as a sleeper this year, but he's very well surprised me this year. He's been better than expected.
Oh, yeah.
And then DJ Moore, a lot of people are a borderline starter right now. Cole Kmet, he looked pretty good this past week. DeAndre Swift. So those are the guys who are benching for the Bears. You're probably not starting a few of those guys. Caleb Williams is probably the main guy there, and probably Odunze is definitely the two main guys. Falcons have a bye. So Michael Penix, he looked good this past week. Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, he actually had a touchdown and looked good this week as well. So get those guys on your bench. Bijan Robinson, he's going to be the biggest loss this week for a lot of people that have buys, including myself, who I have in several leagues. So that's going to be a big blow to me this week for the buys. My Packers, they go into a bye 2-1-1 after the tie.
Could be worse.
Like I said, it was a brutal game to watch.
Could be worse.
But definitely Josh Jacobs, one of the top running backs. Jordan Love, who actually played very well. Romeo Doubs, who we'll talk about in the waiver pickups here in a minute. And then Matthew Golden, he's probably borderline starter too, but definitely get those guys on your bench. And then the last one is going to be the Steelers. Steelers have been looking good with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is rejuvenated with the Steelers, but they look good. So get Rodgers on your bench. DK Metcalf has actually been having a pretty good year so far. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, who we'll talk about in the waiver pickups as well. But definitely those are the main guys you're benching for the Steelers as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of benching this week. Only 4 teams on the bye, which is like the average, I guess. But, we're getting into the thin times in football and going into injuries, my man. And we're watching Monday Night Football, and we just saw it. Tyreek Hill's knee freaking broke. And I love Adam Schefter. Oh, it looked like he's getting checked for a dislocated knee. It's like, are you watching the game, Schefter? And then quickly Ian Rappaport says, like, he's got a lot more than a dislocated knee. Normally there's a bunch of tendons ripped off. And Ian Rappaport's a Jets fan, so he probably is watching the game. I'm not so sure that Shefty is after just such a stupid comment. But, dude, he's done. I'm sorry. When you're a fast receiver that relies on your legs and your legs bend, like your knees like hanging there, just with skin, he's done. I mean, he'll still get paid, and it'd be stupid of him for pull a Derek Carr and retire because he's got like 1 million kids. But he'll make a return in 2028 because this freaking injury is going to take him into 2027 for sure. He'll miss the 2026 season, I'm almost positive, because it looks like everything's torn. But how can he come back with that same speed? And that's your biggest asset. If you're in a dynasty league, Dave, I say just try to sucker trade him for a 5th-round pick and be like, hey, he's out next year, but, it's still Tyreek Hill. We'll stash him in your IR. I would.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have him in one league. I only have him in one league out of my 17, so definitely dodged a bullet there, but very gruesome injury. I go out prayers are out to Tyreek Hill, because definitely you don't want to watch the video, because I watched it a couple times and it's pretty gruesome. His whole knee and leg were turned backwards almost, and it was definitely a gruesome injury. I agree with Kiev here. He's going to be out for quite a while, probably at least a year and a half to 2 years. So definitely the rest of this year and probably next year. So definitely a very gruesome injury. If you can trade him, try to, but yeah, he's going to be out for quite a while.
Yeah, 5th rounder, 6th rounder, something like that if you're in a dynasty. Definitely not getting nothing for a normal league. Basherv, sorry, bro. He's checking in with us, lost his fantasy because Garrett Wilson's garbage touchdown at the end. Well, I got to tell you, man, I wish that they didn't get the field goal because I lost my cover on the old Jets here. So that sucked for me. They lost by 5 instead of 2.
Well, I hate to say it, but I just won one of my fantasy leagues because of that Wilson touchdown, so it can go both ways. So.
Sure does, especially when you're like 20 leagues like Dave is. But back to injuries. Lamar Jackson with that hammy. You know,
this is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A lot of people are speculating that, John Harbaugh is just, got his back and he's just kind of wanted to keep him out because of quitting. And maybe he just felt like the game was too far. I'm kind of impartial. Those Harbaughs, they're real honest guys, aren't they? Right?
No.
So to try for integrity, they're not going to practice him all week. And then all of a sudden on Saturday, you're going to see at about 5:00 p.m., Lamar's going to play. He's like, dude, he's going to play. All right. He's going to freaking play. He's going to play. It wasn't that bad. And so that's my opinion on that one. I'd be shocked if they can afford another freaking loss by putting that horrible quarterback in, as backup. And it's just, he has to play, man. So and
if he doesn't play, I think he misses 1 week at the most. But I agree with Kiev. I think he plays. But if he does miss time, it's going to be probably a week. They said 1 to 2 weeks. So I don't think it's very serious as well. If he does miss any time, it's going to be maybe a week. But we'll see, like you said, but I think he plays. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Cooper Rush is going to rush them into 1-4, and this Texans defense is sick, and the defense can just win the game without Lamar. So I don't understand. I never understood Cooper Rush as a backup to Lamar. Talk about a different type of.
He had some good games with Dallas back in the day, but
but he's not running. He doesn't run.
No.
It's the opposite of what the Ravens need.
Yeah.
I don't freaking understand that. That was some stupidity right there. David Moore was ruled out with an elbow, wide receiver for the Panthers. Cedric Tillman and DeAndre Carter came out for the Browns, and they have to be monitored for sure. I think Tillman's definitely out. Malik Neighbors tore his ACL. Dude, we just lost Tyreek Hill and Malik Neighbors this week because Roger freaking Goodell has to have him play on turf. He doesn't. It's such a coward as a commissioner. Check this out. It's like you get a guy, you want to grow the league, so you get this guy from Puerto Rico, and maybe you know more a little bit about Bunny. What's his name? Bunnyface?
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. And I'm not saying anything bad about him, but if you want more viewers, fix the freaking officiating in this game and fix the turf, put it back to grass so we don't lose our freaking stars in week 4. Sorry.
Exactly, yeah. Those are 2 major stars, 2 top 10 receivers for sure. So big blow to the NFL this week of both those guys. And Neighbors was a nice young upcoming receiver too. So he's definitely going to be out for a while now too, at least a year. So he'll be probably back mid-year next year. So yeah, tough blow definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. You got Ricky Pearsall coming out with a banged up knee too, and Tyreek Hill blew up his knee clearly. That's what I read. I already said him. Those are my main ones, Dave. What am I missing here?
Brock Purdy actually suffered a setback with his toe injury he's been dealing with, and Mac Jones is the backup to him that has a knee sprain. So they could be rolling out their third-string quarterback this week.
Oh, I hope so.
Keep an eye on that situation. Yeah, so that's definitely something to watch. Jaden Daniels, he was close to playing this past weekend, but he should play this week. Keep an eye on that, though. But Jaden Daniels' good news is he should probably be back this week. He was close to playing last week. Bucky Irving has an undisclosed injury. He's getting an MRI today, actually, too. So that's kind of worrisome. I got him in quite a few leagues. Taj Spear, they opened his practice window, so he should hopefully be back this week or next week. Kelvin Ridley, he's playing on limited snaps due to undisclosed injury either. They're not really saying much about his injury. The Tillman one was the other one. And then Taysom Hill, actually, they opened his window. He's a kind of a gadget guy, but he can get you some fantasy points in a hurry. And he'd be a good player for the Saints, actually. He get tight end, played quarterback, tight end. But then Noah Fant, too, concussion protocol. So those are the major ones, though. But, yeah, they're definitely the two biggest ones are definitely Tyreek and Neighbors for sure.
Well, there you go. I covered most of them. It's just a tough blow. It's just still blowing my mind on how poor this league is run. But let's get in the waiver wire here. Wan'Dale Robinson, definitely for the Malik Neighbors ACL tear, I guess I think he's the main guy, Dave, that's going to benefit. It's really tough to pick up more Giants because I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean,
or Slane was the other guy. I had Slane on my board right now too for him and Wan'Dale because I think a lot of people picked him up when he had that big game a couple weeks ago. So Slane is the guy that I think might still be out there too. So either one of those guys could step up. But yeah, it's a crapshoot though, like you said.
And Jalen Hyatt, is he going to show up? He was really good at Tennessee.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's too small. I think he gets his back broke too. But it's tough to figure it out. Definitely Wan'Dale, and he's owned maybe 50% of leagues, I'm thinking, but now it's time to grab onto him. And I mean, if you want to move right into the Dolphins here, I mean, there's that Westbrook Akine. He's I'm guessing it's him. You got D. Eskridge there. Taj Washington's already hurt. You got Malik Washington's going to get more love.
Malik Washington is who they have penciled in for actually to replace Tyreek on the depth chart. So that's probably. But yeah, like you said, like Kareem too. He had some good year. He had a good year with the Titans a couple years ago, so he could be a decent fill-in as well.
Yeah. Hunter Renfrow is a nice speculative ad for the Panthers this week. We got Isaiah Bond for the Cleveland injuries, so he's a streamer this week. What else? Kendrick Bourne again for the Niners. Maybe him. There's some other guys there, though. So I'm not completely sold on Kendrick Bourne. He dropped a pretty easy pass last week that drove me nuts. Woody Marks. You were right, Dave, last week. I'm going to give you some props on this one. He's the man. Chubb had a decent amount of carries, but Mark's had the most carries and the touchdown. He's the next guy up, and he's the man now.
Let me just go on the stats here because we were talking about stats last week. So this week, 17 carries for 69 yards. Chubb only had 13 carries. Mudia had 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown, and Chubb only had 2 catches for 15 yards. So yeah, he's definitely taking that backfield over. So
yeah.
I hate to gloat, but yeah, I was right last week.
Well, the sun shines in a dog's ass every once in a while. Running back Justice Hill went off with 5 receptions. He also had 3 carries and a touchdown, man. Justice Hill, I mean, it was garbage time, but they need to use him.
It was garbage time,
They still got to use him more. They were effective last year when he was in more, in my opinion. So, Kendry Miller.
I do like him.
Kendry Miller was good, too, with 17 carries and a touchdown last week. I like Kendry Miller. And, it's just not looking so good right there in the Saints. I think Kendry will just get more carries. Yeah, and it's still tough to own the Saints running back. Running back Tyler Algier had 16 carries and a touchdown, too. So those are my waivers. What are yours?
Yeah, those are most of the ones. Woody Marks was one of my top waiver pickup this week. I like Chris Rodriguez, actually, too. Him and Bill Merritt. He actually had more carries. He looked like the better and the starting running back actually for the Commanders. So I'm liking Rodriguez a little bit more. He's kind of moving up my charts a little bit here. Kendrick Miller is still clearly the number 2, but he carried 11 times for 65 yards and a touchdown. So yeah, definitely like Kendrick Miller as well, like you said. And then I like Slayton actually to replace too. Like I said before, I like him. And I like Romeo Doubs. Actually, he's under-owned in a lot of leagues right now. 3 touchdowns this past week. He's definitely the go-to guy for Jordan Love right now. And then Jalen Tolbert, actually. He surprised me when I was watching the game. With CeeDee Lamb out, I definitely like Tolbert, actually. He could step up, be that number 2 there with Pickens. Pickens actually surprised me, too. He actually had a pretty good game. Jackson Dart, too. Jackson Dart had a rushing TD, and he threw for TD, and they beat the Chargers with him at quarterback. So keep an eye on him. He's definitely a guy you want to grab on the waiver wire right now if you need a bye-week quarterback here, streamer for this week. He has a decent matchup this week, but it can't be harder than the Chargers, who they just beat, and he played pretty well against them. And he had no turnovers, which is key as well. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at. Tight end-wise, Dallas Goedert, a lot of people forgot about him, but he had 2 touchdowns this past week.
He should be owned. I think Goddard should be owned mostly.
Yeah, I don't know if people are starting him, though, or not.
I didn't start him. I started Ertz over him this week. That was a mistake.
Right. So if you need a bye week fill in, maybe, or if you had a couple of tight ends on a bye, or if you need another tight end and you have the utility spot, you can plug a guy in. Goddard actually looked pretty good this past week, so he's the tight end I would take a look at.
You know,
that's all the waiver player pickups ahead right now.
I'll tell you, doesn't look good. The Cincinnati Bengals, man. Browning's.
No, I know. Jake Browning, I thought he would come in and carry the ship.
He has no time. By the time he goes back, he's smashed.
Their line is horrible.
And this is what they put Joe Burrow behind, man. This offensive line, it is just...
It's bad.
Horrible. No wonder, you know. All right, let's move to sleepers, non-starters trending up for week 5. You have the floor.
All right, great. The Texans. I like the Texans this week. The guy that I really like, Woody Marks. I like him against the Ravens. The Ravens' defense isn't stopping anybody. Their defense is just horrible right now. So I like C.J. Stroud and I like Woody Marks. I definitely like both of those guys this week. I like the Dolphins against the Panthers, actually. Tua's actually balled out tonight. He actually looked pretty good again, even though even though the Jets lost to them, he brought him to a win. He's looking better and better every week, actually. So even with Tyreek Hill out, I think I still like Tua, actually.
We still got Waddle. Jalen Waddle's going to be huge now.
Yeah, so Jalen Waddle, if you can trade for him, maybe you can get him for cheap. I definitely take a look because he's going to be the number one. And he's going to be their go-to guy there now. So I definitely like him. I like the Colts this week against the Raiders. Raiders defense gives up quite a few points still as well. Danny Dimes, I like him this week. I like that matchup for him. I like Jackson Dart against the Saints this week. I like that matchup. And Cam Scatterboo, I like him too as well this week against that poor Saints D. I hate to say it, but I like the Jets this week against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are giving up tons of points. Jordan Love threw over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against that Dallas D. In the deep ball, they cannot cover the deep ball either. So I definitely like Wilson and Justin Fields this week against the Cowboys. Wilson's already a starter already, but definitely slid in a lot of my drafts. So if you're not starting him, definitely he's definitely trending up this week. I like that matchup. Lions. I like the Lions this week. I think Jameson Williams, he's been struggling the last couple weeks. I think he's a nice sleeper this pick this week against the Bengals. Bengals D is not very good either. Their secondary struggled the last couple weeks as well. So, and then the running backs there, you're already starting those guys. But I think Jameson Williams is definitely the sleeper for the Lions there that I like. And then I do like Ray Davis could actually have a nice game against the Patriots too. Patriots defense is solid. They're in the middle of the pack right now, but Bills could get out big on them, and I think Ray Davis could have some garbage time yards and a touchdown possibly.
Oh yeah, and Keon Coleman. I wrote Keon Coleman too.
Yeah, I like Keon Coleman too. Is definitely.
Yeah, he's not a starter, so there you go. Running back Woody Marks is huge, especially if Roquan Smith is out. Look, you got to look at these injuries. There's like 3 guys that went on in the defense for Baltimore, and if Roquan Smith has to sit a week, I'm liking Woody Marks a lot more. Look at what Buffalo ran all over this team, and so it was just it was before the Kansas City game. I forgot the other team that beat the Ravens. Oh, the Lions. They ran all over them, man. So Woody Marks could be huge in this week against a weird Baltimore team. Isaiah Bond is a streamer for the versus the Vikings, so I just kind of threw him down. C.J. Stroud could do well versus the Ravens D with all those injuries too. It's hard to start C.J. Stroud, but maybe you have him on your bench and your other guy is, I don't know, maybe it's like Carson Wentz because maybe you had J.J. McCarthy or you had an injured quarterback that's out and you're just streaming.
Or a bye week quarterback too. Maybe you have a quarterback on bye this week like Aaron Rodgers or something like that too.
Yeah, and if that's the case, there's some other quarterbacks out there that just got a starting job, just like what's his face for the Giants, Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman I mentioned, and Jameson Williams I mentioned too, so I agree with you there, Dave. for sure. Braylon Allen, I put against the Cowboys, but he's kind of hurt now. I guess he can make our injured list. He limped off in the second quarter, so Braylon Allen is also hurt, and he's not exactly a starter, but he was a sleeper in some ways. So I'm gonna take.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take.
He's playing better lately.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take him off my list though. Garrett Wilson against the Cowboys is going to be big too. That Cowboys defense is horrible.
Huge.
Fucking horrible. Wide receiver Marcin Harrison Jr. He hasn't been a starter lately, and I think he's playing the Titans. What a juicy matchup. He almost made my nasty sleeper, but he's not nasty enough for a nasty sleeper. But I like starting Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. And Jackson Dart against the Saints. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. That's the streamer you want this week.
That's a juicy one.
Absolutely. Chris Olave even against the Giants, so you can go the other way too. I like Chris Olave. Not so sure about the quarterback there, but I think Chris Olave, being that he's at home, might finally get some points there. Wan'Dale Robinson for sure against the Saints. David Njoku against the Lions because the Lions are bad against tight ends. Mason Taylor against the Dolphins. Oh, wait, no, sorry. He's playing the Dolphins right now. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, just like you mentioned, Dave.
He's going to be huge.
He's a starter now for sure. Bust. Running back Derrick Henry against Denver's stingy D. Denver, they have a really good run D, and they're shutting down the Bengals right now. Running back Quinshawn Junkins against Minnesota's run D. Quinshawn got all the carries last week. He got over 21 carries, Dave. So,
I was shocked. Yeah, they're just feeding him the ball like crazy now since he got in. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like feed me, my friends, feed me. We have Travis Etienne against the Chiefs is a little suspect. I did love how the Jaguars beat the Niners last week, but was
awesome.
That was awesome. Kenneth Walker against the Bucks run D is rough for Bus. Trey Flowers now, if no Lamar, I still think Lamar's playing, but I don't know. That Texans defense is really good. I like the under in that game. DeAndre Hopkins against the Texans too, and Mark Andrews against the Texans. Now, if Lamar's playing, it's not so much, but I still think the Texans D is really good. Wide receiver Jordan Addison against the Browns is kind of suspect too. So you got to start Justin Jefferson, but the Browns are one of the best teams against receivers, as you Packer fans saw. And quarterback Sam Darnold against the Buccaneers could be bad. I'm sorry, I'm not starting Sam Darnold this week. Wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba as well against the Bucks. 2 is rough. Who are your busts, Dave?
All right. I don't like the 49ers against the Rams. I think the Rams have a solid defense, actually. So I'm definitely, whoever they start at quarterback, I don't like whoever they start at quarterback. I don't think it's going to be Purdy. Could be possibly Mac Jones. But if the other third string starting, definitely don't start anyone at quarterback for the 49ers. That is a bad matchup for him against a good Rams team overall. I agree with you on the Vikings. Jordan Mason is going to be tough sledding for him running against a tough Browns D. They have a pretty good run defense as well. In the past, they have as well. Jordan Addison, definitely downgrading him. JJ, you're definitely starting him. But Ravens, too, I agree with you on that one, too, actually. I think Zay Flowers could struggle a little bit. The Texans' defense has been playing better lately now. I think Henry still gets his, but he could struggle a little bit because in those big games, he seems to disappear. He'll have like one of those games where he goes for like 10 for like 40 yards or 50 yards. So I definitely see that happening this week against that good defense. I don't like. I agree with you too on the Eagles too against the tough Broncos D. I think Barkley could struggle a little bit this week. He's still going to be a starter, but like I said, Henry, like with Henry, he could struggle not have as good of a game this week against the Eagles. AJ Brown, what happened to him last week? He sent out tweets then too after he's only got like one catch. I think it was like 5 or 7 yards. So he could be a little suspect this week too. I'm downgrading him a little bit too because he struggled last week for sure. So and the Broncos have some good cornerbacks there too. So definitely downgrading him. I like the Bengals against the Lions. They're not looking good tonight against Denver. So I don't think the Lions have as good of a defense as Denver, but I think the Bengals could struggle against the Lions, though they have a good enough D that they could give the Bengals fits. So definitely not starting Jake Browning or Chase Brown, any of those guys for the Bengals for sure. I don't like the Patriots against the Bills. Drake May, I'm probably downgrading him as well. And I agree with you with the Jaguars, too. I think the Jaguars could struggle a little bit against the Chiefs. I think Etienne and I think even Trevor Lawrence could struggle a little bit against that tough Chiefs D.
Yeah, I hope the the Bills get a few of their defense back. You know, they let some yards up to the Saints, and maybe it was just kind of a relaxed spot. But, you know, they had guys like Ed Oliver and Matt Milano I'd like to see
Well, that was huge, yeah.
I'd like to see them back. We'll see. We got a question from Jeremy Brown. I get Bijan Robinson and DeAndre Smith for Jamar Chase and Breece Hall. Absolutely, if you can afford losing a running back. I mean, Breece Hall could lose. Yeah, it's the Jets. They're going to be in such turmoil later this season. They're 0-4 now. I mean, I almost think, does Breece Hall even, are they going to pound him to the ground? Is he going to be one of those guys that might have a little injury and not play for 2 weeks? Yeah. I mean, especially if you have 2.5 to 3 really, startable running backs. I would say 3 startable running backs. Now, if you and a backup, make sure you handcuff it. But if you're going to do that, handcuff the current guys you have. But heck yeah, man. But you also have but you get a running back too in Bijan. Yeah, dude, that's a no-brainer, Dave, right?
Yeah, Bijan's the number 1 back overall, and he's the best reception back right now too. He's the best receiving back right now in the league, and if it's a PPR league, Bijan is huge. So yeah, I'm definitely doing that trade all day. Hall is nowhere even close to Bijan anymore. Hall is probably like a 20 ranked.
Dude, Jamar
right
Chase
now,
is not worth anything because he has no quarterback.
With Browning. Yeah.
It's
killing him.
And I have Jamar Chase, man. It sucks in the league, and he's been terrible now. It's like, yeah, you're going to get more, probably total yards with Devontae Smith. If anything, that's more of a toss-up, and you just get Bijan over. Dude, absolutely take that trade, man. Do it immediately for this dude is
because Bijan's always going to get you yards because he's going to get receptions and he's going to get carries. So you have guaranteed yards and points with him. With Chase, it all depends on Brown.
And he's already got Genty and ETN, so absolutely, man.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer trade for you, my man. It's not like you're. For a second there, I wasn't thinking Bijan was a running back. Yeah, dude, this is a. I mean, that guy. That guy should be crucified for making that trade. Just to let you know. So put it through.
Well, Chase is still a top receiver.
I mean, if I was commissioner and I saw that trade, I'd freaking block it because I was like, "Who's the idiot doing this?" I would think that you're in cahoots and you're going to split the pot at the end or something, man. Jesus Christ, take that trade. So that moves us to the nasty sleeper, Dave. I'll go first here because I don't think you have this one. Juwan Johnson, tight end for the Saints against that awful Giants D. The Giants give up a lot of points to a lot of different teams. Juwan Johnson's really the only consistent guy, and I did like Chris Olave a little bit, but the Giants are in a letdown spot because they just beat the Chargers. They lost Malik Neighbors. I think could be the Saints' first win, and I mean the spread's almost at pick'em right now. So there you go.
I like that. I like Olave too. I think that would have been even a pretty nice nasty sleeper. But I'm going with my boy Woody Marks. I like him. I like the matchup this week.
There you go.
He's taking over that backfield, I think, now. Get him while you can. On the waivers, this is probably going to be the last week you can grab him. So my D-Nasty sleeper is Woody Marks. I'm going with him this week.
Any last thoughts before you're done patting yourself on the back for Woody Marks, Dave?
I know, but hey, make sure you get all those players out for the buys and go get some winners this week.
Yes, absolutely. Get those players out. Get the new players in. Check the waiver wire. It's going to be a massive waiver wire with all those big injuries in the bye weeks this week. Might be worth finally putting some bucks up that you've been saving up for the last 4 weeks here to pick up those players. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Asburgers. Email us at info@theasburgers.com. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.